Guess what just came in the mail? Something from Dakoyu. It is this right here, their second anniversary edition. This is the X1 Multitool. Really, really cool. This comes in orange, black, and gray. And of course, I had to get the orange one to compare it to the Leatherman Wave Alpha. But this is a really neat tool. And I'm excited about this because this is a lot more original. It's not so much of a copy of a Leatherman design like the fan exclusive was. This one right here is a pretty great tool, but it borrows very heavily from the Leatherman Free series. It's sort of a combination of the Arc and the P4, more like the P4, not so much the Arc. But yeah, a great tool, but a little bit too much taking from the design of Leatherman. So one of the things that has been exciting to see is Dakoyu grow as a company. One of the things they started out doing was just essentially rebadging a lot of multi-tools on the market, putting their own stamp on there, and that's how they grew. And then eventually they started adding. So with the DK Young, this tool right here, even though it had a very similar tool set, and we'll see that it has a similar tool set even to this new edition, they started with just essentially adding scales, and then they have added a lot of things to this platform, a platform that already existed. You can buy this on Amazon for about $26, but they modified it and continued to modify it until it becomes a tool that is really, really special. Now, when I got this package in the mail, I have to say I was impressed even with the packaging. This is pretty neat. The Dakoyu Anniversary Edition right here, number 2, the package. And this is just the outside cardboard. And then this is the inner cardboard box that comes with the styrofoam. And it just, you can tell that they actually cared. This is from another video. They cared a lot more about this tool. This is their new sheath. This one right here, and it does come with the normal wire cutters. Yes, there are special wire cutters on this multi-tool. Comes with the wrench. We've got the side pockets, and then this right here will be bi-directional, so vertical or a horizontal carry with this pouch right here. So the gentleman that owns Dakoyu, he mentioned that he really sort of agonized over their logo, trying to design this sheath. So he did take a lot of time and effort into making sure that this was just a little bit extra special, which I appreciate. So I think the question that some people may ask is, why should I spend over $100 for this tool? I think it's around $130 on Dakoyu's website. There is a limited amount, I think maybe 200 or so of these, and then once they're gone, they're gone. Why would you buy that? It does have a very general tool set to this tool right here that you can buy for $26 on Amazon. I'll leave links to both of these tools below, but there's some big upgrades that this has that this definitely doesn't. So yes, there's some of the same general characteristics, but I will walk you through the upgrades in this tool right here. Now, when we open the tool on the inside, this will be one of the big, huge things for me. We have wire stripper cutters right here. Now, that is really, really cool. Now, DK, or a Dakoyu rather, they did interact with Tiny Tool Shop, I believe, his YouTube channel, and I will put links for that as well, where he actually came up to some extent with these. He made them himself, and then Dakoyu reached out and basically said, hey, that might be something we want to make, and they did. So they are only making it for this edition right here, which I think is really cool for those of you who are electricians. This is a pretty awesome tool. We've got the crimpers at the bottom, these special wire strippers. If you hate those cutters and you just want your regular cutters, then go ahead and install these and sell these on eBay for $30 or $40, however much you can, because I'm sure there's someone who will really, really want to have them. On this tool, yes, it shares a lot of the same characteristics as this tool right here, but we have special G10 scales, which I think look really nice. I really like the look of these scales right here, and I want to show you a tool that they remind me of. So especially in this black metal multi-tool right here, you can see that there are some design cues, I believe from the Leatherman OHT, but definitely it is not the same thing. But it is, I guess, sort of nice to see that perhaps the OHT lives on in a pretty capable frame right here. I think there's a lot of good things about this. One of the negatives about this was that it had a 5mm bit driver, and we'll see if they fixed it. One of the many things they fixed in this special anniversary edition from Dakoyu. So we've talked about the wire strippers, we've got the special G10 handles, and then I do like how these washers are coordinated at the top right here to fit in with the theme. Pretty nice right there. I like the black pivots, pretty cool. And then unlike the Wave Alpha, they definitely have put ruler markings on both sides of the tool, so you can use that. Really, really neat. Now, one of the special features we should probably get to is supposedly you can use a small tool like a SIM card ejector and push this button and the pocket clip will come out. So I'm going to grab one of those and I'll be right back. I've talked so many times about why do we have SIM card ejectors, and here we go. I actually need one for once. That is really awesome. I like how that pocket clip just slides in, slides out. I feel like it might be a little bit more secure than Leatherman's system. There is a little bit of play there, but I don't think near as much as Leatherman. That is a pretty nice design. So this is one of the many upgraded features. Now, another upgrade features is they've actually added a diamond file right here. We've got a nice, very long, very full diamond file right there. Then on the other side, it looks like maybe a finer grit file on this side. So definitely two pretty nice files right there. And then on this side, the scissors. Now, because this is a $130 tool, well, that's, I guess, about the price of the Leatherman Wave anymore. So it's not exorbitantly expensive, but let's go ahead and give this a shot. Down near the pivots, it actually works so much better. Sometimes I have the tendency to use the tip right here to cut harder things. Let's go ahead and yes, so this will slice through this right here. Let's give the seat belt a shot. And the scissors will slice right through the seat belt as well. Pretty cool. I do like the thumb grooves or the finger grooves right here for you to be able to use these scissors. And then, so we've talked about the file, we've talked about the scissors, and then on this side is one of the biggest things about this tool. You can see that it talks about Magna Blade. Now, I don't think they're allowed to say Magna Cut because I don't know that they're using the exact Magna Cut steel. But from what I understand, this is essentially the same thing as Magna Cut steel. It's just not made in the US. On this side, we have a really nice little serrated blade and then this rope cutter screwdriver at the bottom right here. This is one of the only tools on the outside that is not locking. The rest of the tools will be locking on the outside. All right, so let's go ahead to the inside. And one of the big things is we have a full 1/4-inch bit driver. Excellent job, Dakoyu. I think that's great. Now you'll notice on this one right here that this is a 5mm. This is a 6mm bit driver. If I take this out, that does not work. So I'm not sure how they stretched the frame, how they got that to work, but somehow they did. So pretty neat, because I think this is essentially very similar or the same frame right here, but I really appreciate that Dakoyu did add the 1/4 inch bit driver on there. They listened to those of you who said we do not like the 5mm, and so they came up and they did use the 1/4 inch bit driver. On the inside, a lot of these tools I think will be similar to the original tool that it shares a lot of its DNA with. The can opener, pretty nice awl, this nicer micro screwdriver or smaller screwdriver, the bottle opener, and the large screwdriver. These will all be locking right there. Now, when we compare this to the Leatherman Wave Alpha, these are both very similar. They both have very similar knife blade steels, according to Dakoyu. Then on the outside, they will both have pretty nice scissors. Actually, both of them work pretty good. There will be a file on the Dakoyu with a diamond file, just the same as with Leatherman. I do have to say that I feel like the Leatherman Wave Alpha has a more aggressive file on this side, which might be nicer for some people. Then on this side, they will add the serrated blade with this rope cutter and the screwdriver instead of the saw that the Leatherman Wave Alpha has. On the inside, both of these will have removable pocket clips, but I have to say I think I like Dakoyu's better. On the inside, there is the 1/4 inch bit driver, which I think hands down is so much better than Leatherman, but I do understand that Leatherman doesn't want to use all of its tool set up, but I do prefer the 1/4 inch bit driver. And then on this side, let's look at these tools. There is no micro driver that you can remove, but there's a pretty small flat screwdriver here. There's the awl, they both have that. They both have a fairly large flat screwdriver. This one might, well, it's a little bit longer. This one, yeah, I don't know. They probably end up being about the same. And then the wire stripping option will actually be handled by the jaw, in the jaws with these wire cutters strippers right there, which I do think is a fantastic feature. I don't think, actually there is a wire stripper here on the can opener, which will be pretty similar to the Leatherman Wave Alpha. And this does have the ruler markings. So if you buy from Dakoyu for $130 for about what, $60 to $70 less than Leatherman Wave Alpha, you get a full 1/4 inch bit driver. You get possibly a little bit sturdier pocket clip. This one does still have some wiggle as well, but it's fine for me. And the 1/4 inch bit driver, the ruler markings, and then these very special wire stripping wire cutters right there in the jaws. That is some of the things you get. Now, Dakoyu, he did mention that when you buy some of these from him, I believe he mentioned, you'll have to double check, but I think he said something about this is essentially a lifetime warranty. Now, I know some of you have complained and said, hey, customer service hasn't been what we expected, but I'll leave that between you and the owner. I just know what he said, that you will get something like lifetime warranty with these particular tools. Pretty interesting how the multi-tool world is shaping up. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not really going to give you a winner. I think I'll leave this up to you. Obviously, Leatherman has been around a lot longer. To some extent, they have proven themselves. And I think that will be a lot more valuable for many, many more people. But some of you may find this design right here very, very attractive. All right, it's time to do a test. And with this anniversary edition from Dakoyu, we get 267 grams, Leatherman Wave Alpha 234 grams. Let's go over to ounces. Leatherman Wave Alpha 8.3 ounces, the Dakoyu 9.4 ounces. Let's look right here and you can see that the Dakoyu is slightly longer. This will be a little bit more like the 4 1/4 inch frame size, like the Leatherman Free series, more like that length, where the Leatherman Wave Alpha will be around the 4 inch frame size. So I really do like what Dakoyu is doing. I think they are doing some pretty exciting things, and I can't wait to see what's in the future for this pretty young company.